Yeah.
I think that's the thing with the Goldie at the moment. Like everyone's just doing cool shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just like people got like restaurants and cafes, like doing sport like yourself, like even a heap of footy crew that we knock around with still, like fashion, like that shit works.
There's so much to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, people froth it too.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little hub. It's almost like Sydney, like crew from Sydney and Melbourne after COVID hit, I feel like they can come up here now.
Yeah. It's just, it is the hub. Like everyone comes to Gold Coast. It's the place to be.
Best.
I tried to live in Brisbane for a little bit before I moved here.
No, it's not it, eh?
Hate
It's
it.
not it, eh?
Couldn't do it.
Respectfully to Brisbane.
Yeah,
They do it all right.
Yeah.
They do it all right. I feel like I feel like the podcast has started. Like we can just keep rolling from here. Usually we do like, hey, like Natalya Diehm, like welcome to the podcast. But I feel like we're rolling. How you feeling? How's the morning been?
Yeah, good. It's been a good day. Nice chill day for me. Just a bit of gym and then cleaning up and just like getting organised. I feel like once I clean and get everything organised, then I feel like clear in the mind. So
really,
it's weird that Wednesday is my day to do that, but that's just how it worked out.
I feel like you got to have a day though.
Yeah. Well, then like on the weekends I'm with my partner, so then it's like we're super busy doing stuff that then I have no time. Then Wednesday just seems to be like hump day, get ready for the week. I don't know.
That's it, mate. You got to do it. What's training looking like at the moment?
Training. I'm gearing up for an event in the UK in about 2.5 weeks, which is pretty cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
What's the event?
First one of the year. It's a Red Bull event. It's called Red Bull Featured. It's the first time it's ever been done, and it's like ramps are huge. Yeah. Like they're built to go massive and do world first tricks. Like that's the aim of this event.
Really?
Like they posted up like a teaser of the event the other day, and the size comparison was jumping over a double-decker bus.
Really?
Like that was...
What the hell?
That's the size comparison, and I'm like shaking in my boots already before I even get there.
You get nervous? You get nervous on this stuff?
I feel like I'm nervous, but also I'm not nervous because I don't know what it's actually like yet.
Yeah.
I think when I get there and I see it, even though I know what I'm expecting with a double-decker bus, but I'm like, until you see it, it's like, oh my God.
Do you like standing at the bottom of the bus and you're looking up and there's two of them? I imagine that's insane.
Yeah. So it scares me a little knowing that like, I'm going to go out there and like send it, like send my life away really and hope that I'm going to land the trick that I want to do. Like,
how do you prepare? This is like, obviously like professional like BMXer, right? I am keen to talk about like the Olympics and growing up and everything, but like this little part of like your life where you've got like incredible risk and obviously incredible reward.
Yeah.
But the risk on these tricks are insane. That's why I asked, like, how do you get over the nerves? Like, are the nerves always there, or is it like just something that you got to compartmentalize and move on? Like, how do you navigate that space?
Yeah, I feel like the nerves are always there, but there's different kind of nerves. There's like nerves of the event, and like maybe there's like thousands of people watching, and the nerves of like everyone watching. The judges are judging you, obviously, and then like I think it comes down back to trust. Like, okay, I've done this trick like 1,000 times in the foam pit, and I've done it on this ramp. Like, I trust that I know how to do it. But then also like, if it's something you've never done before, you've just like, it's just scary. It's just nerve wracking, you know, you just got to risk it and hope it's going to work out.
Far out. That's so wild. Talking to a few of the skaters, because I feel like BMX skate, like not same, but like similar discipline in terms of like mastering a trick, right?
Yeah.
Talking to Jackie Hayes and Hayley Wilson, who we were talking about beforehand, I was like, how do you guys like mastering a trick? Like, what's your play? He's like, man, it's just reps. Like, it's just honestly doing it over and over and over again. So when you're in the place where you have to do it, it's like muscle memory.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think it also comes down like with the pressure. Like if you're at an event, like you're just focused on like landing and doing everything that you're fully committed. Like as soon as you have a bit of hesitation or you're not 100% committed to what you're doing, that's when you'll crash and you'll fall and you'll get hurt. So for me, it's like, I know that once I get to an event, like I'm without a doubt always fully committed.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it's going to work out. And if you fall, the fall will be better off if you weren't fully committed to the trick.
Yeah.
But yes, like the learning process of it is just like ridiculous. Like if it's like over and over and like fall, get up, or like you slip your feet and then it's like, oh my God, I was so close, and you try again and then you fall again. It's like literally just like the other day, I was doing double whip airs. So like 2 rotations of my bike.
Thank you for clarifying that as well. I assume that I know nothing.
Yeah. So it's like 2 rotations of my bike, which like a lot of girls still aren't really doing. There's a few. And I had done them before, but the last time I did it, I like stuffed my knee up.
Yeah.
So like the nerves of like knowing that happened, haven't done it in a while, and then trying to like push past the fear of knowing like, well, I have done this before and I've done it 1,000 times. Like I know the muscle memory. It's just like trusting myself. But like, I think I fell like 5 times before I landed it, and not like a small fall. Like I like almost like belly flopped down and just like had to just get back up. And
what are those mats called that you can land on? They're a bit softer.
Oh yeah, the resi mats.
Is that what you practice on? Or foam?
Yeah, so it's like starts with the foam pit,
and
then it goes to the resi, and then it goes to like hard like wood, metal, concrete, whatever you're riding, pretty much. And
so this is like the first competition of the year.
For me, yeah.
For you. So what's training looking like? Like what is it like? Multiple days? Is it a mixture of gym? Like conditioning? I imagine.
Yeah, a lot of conditioning. I hate that part of it. I hate it, but it pays off so much. I feel like our training weeks don't really differ. Like our training load maybe changes. Like our S&C coach will always taper like our programs and stuff leading into events. But it's like we will ride about 5 days a week. So it's like we'll ride Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, conditioning Tuesday, Thursday.
It's a solid workload.
Yeah, so the only day off out of everything is Sunday, where we just get to do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
When you say conditioning, is that like what I'm imagining from a footy background is like sitting on a bike, running, going on a rower, like the ski ergs, like what is that what that is?
A lot of watt bike, like stationary watt bike stuff, and we just thrash ourselves.
Sucks, hey?
It does. And it, like, especially when it's hot.
Yeah.
And I always like am sitting on there, like we've got the heart rate monitors on, and like they're like, we do the 3-minute power test. Did you do that ever?
Remind me.
It's like the 3-minute power test. You go as hard as you can for 3 minutes on the watt bike, and then you get your average number of like what you held.
Yeah.
So you just like absolutely die on it.
Yeah.
So they always go, oh, like according to your 3-minute power test, like you should be able to hold like 260 watts for like a minute and a half. I'm like dying, like yelling at them, like I can't do it. It's not possible. They're like, this is what the numbers show. So I'm like, I'm always complaining, even though like I love the hard work, but I just love to complain.
It's so wild. I remember when I first got to the Titans at the Goldie, it was like my first day there. I did like a mid-season transfer from the Bronx. Yeah. I must have been like 19, 20 at the time. And I was in there, and you know when you first get into an environment, you just want to impress everyone. Yeah. So we were doing like in an altitude chamber, heart rate test. So, so the session was dictated on your heart rate. So you work hard, and then once everyone in the room, so maybe like 15 or 10 of us or whatever it was in that room, once you hit your like zone 4, so I think it was like above 170, 180 beats per minute, that's when the clock starts. But it goes from the last person. So the fittest people take a little bit longer. And so I was on the rower, like rowing as hard as I could. And they're like, "Hey, Greg, what the fuck are you doing?" Like, and I'm like, I'm going pretty hard here. Like, I'm pretty puffed. Yeah. And then got to the point where like it just wasn't showing up on the heart rate monitor, because they had like an iPad with everyone's heart rates on it, like all linked up. I pass out because I like fully maxed out. And then as soon as I hit the deck, shot up, my heart rate just wasn't on properly.
Oh, no way.
That was the first time I ever blacked out in a session. Oh. And I was like, what's going on? Like, I had no idea. and then they like dragged me out of the outro. Everyone else kept going, put like water on me. And they're like, yeah, welcome to first grade. Like,
I wonder what your heart rate was.
It shot's like 200.
Yeah, you would have been killing yourself. I would have been the same. Like it's like when you start a new job, right? You're a new person, you don't know anyone, you got to impress. And it's like, I definitely would have been the same. Like, why the fuck is it not going up? Like,
but you don't want to chirp up, right?
Yeah. I would have, probably died.
Yeah. We black out before we chirp up. Hey, I'm so excited to have you here. I think this is so cool. I've never had a BMX on the podcast before, so really keen to like dive into the weeds and everything, but starting off, like, how did BMX like come into your life? Like, what did growing up look like for you?
Yeah, I'm from Boyne Island, Tennant Sands, so it's like 20 minutes east of Gladstone, central Queensland. Yeah. So I grew up along the water, the beach, small beach town.
It's a small world. My roomie's from Gladstone as well. I know, you just saw.
I know, that was honestly so crazy. As soon as you said Fawzi, I was like, I know he doesn't know who I am, but I was like, I know who Fawzi is.
Everyone knows who Fawzi is. Lovely man, one of the great men.
That's so crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so from a small town, like, there's not much to do. To like ride your bike to school is like, no matter what side of the river you're on, it's like 10 minutes ride max. So how it started was I was on Boyne, the school's in Tenham, it's over the bridge, and I wanted to ride a bike to school. And the only one we had didn't have brakes. It was like a dirty dog bike. That's what it was called. A dirty dog from probably Kmart.
Yeah.
Didn't have brakes or anything. Had the screw-on pegs. So if you screwed the pegs off, your wheel's coming off. And then mum and dad surprised me, picked me up early from school one day with a new bike. It was a GT. And it was like, cool, like, where do you want to take your bike to ride? Like, do you want to go to the skate park? And I think I was like grade 3 even.
Is your brothers or sisters?
2 sisters, one older, one younger.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like, let's go to the skate park. And it was like, no one was there because everyone was still at school. I was like out early. I think it was cross country day. So I was cheering.
Not running cross country.
Yeah, not a chance. After we talked about conditioning, I was like,
Respectfully, no.
And then like, had never been before, but like learnt how to ride up the quarter straight away, go down the quarter, went down like one of the bigger quarters that was there. And I remember being like super nervous. I remember it was like yesterday, I was so nervous to do it. But when like mum and dad tell you, like, you can do this, and at such a young age, you like believe in everything they tell you, right?
Really?
Like as soon as they said like, you can do it, I was like, oh, well, if they said I can do it, like I can do this. And I remember rolling up to it and I like had my eyes closed. Like eyes were closed and I like rolled down over my eyes, like, oh, I did it. And then just like from that day, it's like every day after school, every weekend, like to the skate park. So that's how it all happened.
It's kind of like a little core memory, hey?
Yeah, but in the scene back then for such a small town as well was like big, and it was really cool. And then from then, like I realized how many kids from school, all boys, but like how many kids from school went there that I didn't know about. And it just created this friendship group and this community for me at the skate park and at school now, plus all the older kids that were there.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's full, like, because I think about sliding door moments like all the time. Yeah. Like imagine one little thing, like your parents get you a skateboard instead of a bike or a scooter. Like,
but I did it all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I like rode scooters, I tried skateboard, like mum and dad bought me a skateboard because I was like, I want a skateboard now. And I actually got into scooters for like a little bit.
Yeah,
like I loved it because most of my friends like did it.
Sure.
And it's like the more affordable thing for families. So I think that's why like most of my friends had a scooter. So I was like really into scooters. And then my older sister was at the skate park as well. She started riding BMX.
Yeah.
And I like saw her getting good.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. I was like, no way you're going to be better than me.
Really?
So like I got competitive, and I always thought I was never a competitive person, but like from the very beginning, I was such a competitive person. I remember looking at her, she learned to double peg with like on the quarter, and I was like, nah. I went home and got my bike, and I was like, I'm going to learn this double peg right now. So it's like another thing. It's like, if my sister didn't ride, would I have been into BMX still? Like, I don't even know.
Did you find that you guys like sort of pushed each other growing up in terms of like nailing tricks? Like obviously that example is perfect, but did it continue? Yeah,
with a few tricks it did. And then I kind of just like got better because I'm 4 years younger. So like my fear factor like didn't really kick in yet.
Yeah.
So she was a bit older. And like there was older boys there her age that probably like there was that sense of like intimidation for her as well. And then like I kind of just like zoomed past her.
Well, that's thanks, sis. Yeah. Obvious question for me: the intimidation thing.
Yeah.
With obviously male-dominated sport, skate parks, like you don't see many young girls rolling up with a bike.
No.
How was that for you?
Yeah, God, my whole way until like after Tokyo, pretty much I was like the only girl in Australia to really be riding BMX. There was a couple older ones when I was younger, which they unfortunately because of their age missed their time in this sport now. So there was a few older ones. They lived in Brisbane though, so I wasn't really associated with them.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, everywhere I went, the only girl, and never expected to see another girl either. Like and I feel like I didn't really notice or care to be the only girl until probably about 15.
Yeah.
And then like it was always like, you hear boys like, oh, you're not going to be that good. Or when they saw I was good, it was like, oh, let's play a game of bike because I'm not going to be beaten by a girl.
Hey,
like stuff like that.
Yeah, a little ego comes into it, right?
Yeah, it's like stuff like that. And then I remember like, being a bit like intimidated, but also like, well, no, I am going to beat you. I'm going to try my hardest. Like I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then as I got older and I was like definitely the only girl, then it got hard, especially when I was living at a home. So then like, I don't know, I just felt like I didn't have like a safe space to like retreat back to if I felt intimidated at the skate park.
Right.
But yeah, it is scary.
The interesting part of that is like your mind frame when they're like, oh no, well, clearly you're really good at what you do. Let's play a game. Like let's say pig or whatever.
Yeah, it's like pig. Yeah,
same.
Yeah, or horse. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, and you're like, no, I'm better than you. Like I love that because I imagine young girls, boys as well, two like frames of mind where it's just like, yeah, all right, let's go. Like I am better than you. I'm going to prove that I'm better. Yeah. Or the other way, it's just like almost retreat. But that would be like not easy enough to do because it'd be so common for so many people to go through, right?
Yeah.
Boys and girls.
Yeah.
But and like even going forward, you said like you didn't have a place to return to.
Yeah.
Because it was hard. Like were you just living by yourself? Like. Or?
Yeah. So all my family still live in Gladstone. So when I first moved south, which was Brisbane. And I didn't know, I think that's when I really felt this because I didn't know anyone at the skate park. They were all boys. Kind of like you said earlier, you go to a new skate park and you almost feel like you have to prove yourself to people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
I feel like I would go there, hadn't even said hello to anyone, and I was like, I've got to like prove that I'm good.
Wow.
Or like, what are they going to think of me? Or what are they going to say? Or, so yeah, I think it was hard like when I first moved to Brisbane, living by myself, didn't know anyone. So it was like, yeah, it was weird.
If you could go back and talk to like 15-year-old Nat, like what would you say? What would you tell her? Like what would be the best bit of advice like after going through all that last like 10 to 15 years of like grind, sweat and tears? Like what would you say? Like what would you say to her?
That it's all going to be worth it. I think that I'd like change my habits earlier too. And the way that you speak to yourself would have been a major difference. Like,
run me through that.
I remember like even like for the longest time not believing that I was an athlete. And I think because of the culture of the sport and how people perceive the sport before the Olympics was like, it's not a professional sport, which means you're not an athlete and this and that. So like I would tell myself, oh, I'm not an athlete. Even though I'm like in the run for the first Olympic Games for BMX freestyle. And I remember like, I'd look in the mirror or mum would say something like, I'm not an athlete. And that like, what you tell yourself, your mind believes, your body, like, it reacts to what you say, right? And your emotions. So I think I would have tried to change my habits earlier and the way that I speak to myself, which helped your mindset and like maybe going to the gym earlier and not for weights, just to like get fit and strong and just to feel better rather than like just thinking I'm like the best without having to do anything.
That internal dialogue I love.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I see it across multiple sports, like the people who do really well in their sports, like their internal dialogue is so positive.
Yeah.
And I think about this all the time. I was talking to my partner about this the other day. It's just like when we do have like negative self-talk, like I'm not an athlete or I'm not good enough or I'm not going to be, whatever it is. It's like we can get stuck in that and we can ruminate on it and we can like almost like you get in a spiral, like a little spiral down. We all do it naturally. Yeah. But what I have come to realize is that we can actually spiral up. So like manifesting on certain, people talk about manifestation, but like manifesting on certain ideas where you're like, nah, I'm a professional athlete. Yeah. I'm here, I'm worth being here. Like I can see myself going to the Olympics. I can see myself podium. I can see, like you can see all that stuff. And then like you said, when you like talk about it, but you say it to yourself, like you actually believe it, not just look in the mirror like I'm worthy. It's just like, no, I can fucking feel this. Yeah. And so it really like, still the sport's kind of divided with the Olympics. Like there's half of the people that say, you know, the Olympics isn't BMX, you're killing the culture, you're killing the sport. And then it's like the Olympic side, it's like we're actually building the sport and putting it on this biggest stage and platform there is in the world to like get more participation in the sport, to build more money and stuff. But it's still super divided. So like it was such an adjustment period going from just like a little girl from a small town riding her bike for fun
and then being like noticed, like, hey, this has been announced in the Olympics. You're pretty good. Like, we have our eye on you. We want you to like go this way.
Yeah.
And like, I was like hesitant. They're like, we need you to go to the gym and do this. And I was like, why would I, like riding my bike's like conditioning and stuff. Like, why would I go to the gym? So I was like, kind of almost like held back from the idea of it, but probably from the internal dialogue, like, I'm not an athlete, like this and that. So I remember, going to the Olympics for Tokyo, and maybe it was too late of a realization for me, but it wasn't until I got there after like first or second practice that I looked around and I was like, hold on. Like, I actually think I can get a podium. Like, I actually think that I, like, realistically, knowing my skill, seeing what I'm seeing, like, I think I'm going to get this podium. But I was in such an imposter syndrome as well being there. Like, the first day I got in, I like, you know, you wander around, you meet these people. Like, I met Patty Mills, see Sam Kerr, Ash Barty was in there, you know, all these big names. And I'm like, oh my God. And I get goosebumps now, like, just talking about it, because it was so real. And calling mum, like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? I'm like, I'm not an athlete. Like, look at all these people that are here. And mum's like, you made it there. Like, you deserve to be there, or else you wouldn't be there. So it was such, like, still an adjustment at the biggest event of my life. So crazy.
Before Tokyo was announced, before it was even an Olympic sport, what did you want to do? Was like BMX, like, did you see yourself doing it in like the street, sponsorship? Like, was that going to be a career for you?
No.
No?
There was no career for really women in that sport. For the men, like, you had X Games, you have the Nitro Circus staff, and they have big corporate sponsors that create a career for them. Little girl me, like the little me, yes, I wanted to ride BMX for the rest of my life. And I truly believed that. And then you get older and you get injured, and then, you know, it's like, well, okay, now I can't work because I'm injured and I'm living back home with mum and dad. And you kind of just, like, as you would realistically, you weigh up and think, like, the cost, like, is the risk worth the reward? I can't work now, I'm living back home, all because of my hobbies doing this to me. So it got announced to Tokyo late 2017, and I was going through my 4th ACL reconstruction.
Which I'm also going to talk about, because I think that's so wild.
Yeah.
But we'll circle back.
So I was going through that, and I remember sitting down with my dad and my mum, and we talked about it, and we're like, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, do I want to do this? And they said, we don't care what you do, we'll support you either way, like, it's your choice. And within like 5 minutes, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it. And then Caroline Buchanan, do you know?
Yeah,
Caroline?
I've heard of her.
Yes. She's like BMX race world champion a few times.
She interviewed you after Paris? Interview you
yeah,
after
she
that?
did. She's like mountain bike world champion, like 2-time Olympian. Like, she does the commentating. Like, she's just done everything. Yeah. And at the time, she was like shifting into BMX freestyle, and she was doing pretty good. Like, she was making the final. I think she came 10th. And I was like, damn, like, that's pretty good. She knows how to handle herself under pressure in competition. I'm just going to let that be that. Yeah. And then I got a call, a FaceTime from her. We had never met. We had never spoken. And she goes, Nat, like, I'm not going to pursue this. I think that you should really give this another chance. One last go. You're the girl for it. You need to do it.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah, like, it gives me goosebumps every time. Like, it's so crazy. And I remember, like, running outside of my house and mum and dad didn't hear. The sunset's happening. And it was like just her trying to talk me through, like, injuries and rehab and what things that I can do outside of like medical wise, like go watch the sunset and the sunrise. It's like healing hour. And it was like sunset then. And I was like, damn. And ever since then, I'm like, yep, I love the sunrise. I love the sunset. And like, just her, I guess, sharing her experiences with me. And then I walked inside and I was like, I'm going to do it.
Wow.
And I, from there, we got the ball rolling. Like, mum and dad had to help me. Like, I didn't have the funds for it. Got a new knee brace, started riding at the local skate parks again. And then, did a domestic competition. Vans, like, did like a world tour, and it was in Sydney. And it just kind of went from there.
Got back on it. Why do you think she called you? Have you spoken to her? Like what? Like she obviously didn't have to, right? Like
No.
it was so random and
No.
rogue. But why do you think she did?
I think ultimately it did come kind of to a decision for her with BMX race and BMX freestyle for the Olympics. And I think she had crashed a few times at the BMX freestyle events. And when she weighed it up for herself, it's like, okay, well, I've crashed 3 times in a year with BMX freestyle, but I've only crashed once in 3 years with BMX race. So I think it just came like to a decision like what's best for her. And then when she chose not to do freestyle, I was like, okay, well, Nat is probably the person for the job.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give her a call. Like I don't know.
I still think that's pretty cool though. Like for someone who is obviously has done so much in the sport, right? And then to call the youngster up and comer, being like just passing on wisdom. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And probably like maybe it got through the grapevine that like I didn't want to do it. Yeah. My dad contacted it was BMX Australia back in the day, it's Oz Cycling now. He contacted them maybe like 2014, 2015 and said, this is going to be an Olympic sport, make a program now.
Oh, really?
And they were like, no, like it's not going to be anything. And he was like, I'm telling you right now, like I've done my research, I know this chatter, blah, blah, blah. Start now. You have literally the best in the world. Like you've been given the best in the world without even trying. Yeah. And they kind of like pushed him back because, as you would, it's like, who's this random man calling?
I was going to say, does he have a background in that?
No.
Yeah, you just call it. Yeah.
He's a dadager, right? He's a dad manager. Yeah. He loved it because I loved it. Yeah. And so then it got announced. They had called him, hey, is Nat still riding? Is she still interested? And it was probably no, 4th knee surgery, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So probably like circled back to she heard that I wasn't going to do it. So she called me. Yeah. I actually don't know. I really don't know.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I wonder how you'll go as you get older and have already had like a heap of success, like for the younger crew coming through. Yeah. Even like stuff like this podcast or like any other podcast or things that you're on. It's like, I wonder how many like younger girls are coming through and just being like, fuck, this is actually kind of cool. Yeah. 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 I hope to inspire, like, since I was like pretty much the only girl to ride freestyle BMX and like, worldwide too, there was like a handful at the time, like maybe like 10. Like there was not many girls to like look up to. So I've always said that I want to be the person that I wish I had to look up to. Love that. When I was younger. So, and then like I would meet these international girls at my first event, and my dad used to make YouTube videos of me when I was little. Sick. Like, my dad did the same. Yeah, and I hated it too. I'd yell at him when he'd bring the dad cam out. Yeah. When I was like 10, 11, 12. And like meeting these girls, it felt like I had known them forever because of social media. Like they were like, oh my God, we used to watch your videos all the time on YouTube. Like we would always say like, oh, this girl's doing this, like I need to learn that. Like what? Hearing that was like, whoa, like I didn't even think anyone watched my YouTube videos. Yeah. Like, and the quality was terrible. Like it was dad, like, With a little handheld camera. Yeah, actual though. And I'm like yelling at the camera, stop filming me. Like, gotcha. Fuck, that's actually really cool though. Like so many people have already like watched you, power social media. Yeah. And then obviously now like your socials is so sick. I love what you put out. You're so just genuine and authentic on how you put yourself out there. Yeah, and I've always wanted to do that. I've always said this to myself, like I don't want to pretend to be someone or something that I'm not, because like there's nothing worse than meeting someone and going, whoa, like you're not anything that you are on social media. Like you're actually not a nice person at all. Yeah, you know, like, because I've met a few people like that. I'm like, oh, I never want to be that person. Yeah. And I always like, I think from the very start, since I got on social media, like I've always wanted to be like so super honest and open, because like, it's just, I don't want to put out bullshit. You know, if I'm going through a hard time or I'm struggling with something, like if I put it out there, like everything and like this podcast, it's like, you could help just like one person. And that's like worth it for me. Do you, so you put your struggles out on socials? I do, depending. Not obviously not everything. Not everything, but most stuff, especially if it's like sport related, I will. Most of the time it's like after the fact though, because it's nothing worse than like putting it out as you're feeling it, because then sometimes you might say stuff that you could regret. But yeah, after the fact, when I've worked through it or whatever, and then it's like, okay,
this is what happened, this is what I took from it and the learnings. I'm going to just share it because it might help someone else.
Yeah, I always wonder, because I agree.
Yeah.
I agree completely, from like reason for the podcast, right? Like
Yeah.
that's why we do it. And I always think like, I wonder if there's like a downside to sharing, to being like so open and vulnerable. Because for me, it's just like, when you got people who are obviously influential in the space, like watching them talk about their own struggles, vulnerabilities, how they got through the stuff, so great.
Yeah.
For the person coming up, they can look at that, it's like, oh, similar situation, I feel validated. I feel like I'm going through something similar. I can take little bits and pieces and little golden nuggets through it.
Yeah.
I see it, but I'm like, I always think, is there a bad side to it? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like there could be, like, especially if it's, you know, from a competition state of mind, it's like, people see this as a weakness. They know what I'm struggling with, or, you know, are they going to use this against me? Sponsors might not like it, you know? And also sometimes there's that sense of anxiety when you click that post button. You're like, oh my God, I don't know how people are going to take this. And you got that bit of anxiety, and it's not until you get like, you know, just that one positive comment that's like, okay, like it's okay.
And the comments and the stories are the ones that keep you in it, right?
Yeah.
I had, we're talking to a few like high profile like AFL players right at the moment. And interesting, I got a call yesterday from the club's media manager. And I was just like, hey man, just letting you know, you have to get approval before doing this podcast. And I was like, yeah man, like fully on board, like whatever you guys need, like, but then in my mind, I'm thinking like, first of all, like, this guy can do it. If he wants to do a podcast, he'll do a podcast. He's doing it. But he was actually really good. But when I first saw the message, I was just like, it was obviously like, he was shocked. He's just like, well, what are they going to talk about?
Yeah,
like,
they're worried about like the club,
the club,
look, right?
100%. Whereas I'm like, man, individual and like people first. And even on this, like, I'm not going to burn anyone. Like, that, you can't. Like,
the only way it's going to be bad is if your athlete says something bad about the club or about their teammates. Or something.
For sure.
That's on them.
Fuck 100. And even if they do, I'm like, fuck, like, let me know if you want to cut it out. I've had mates, because I have a lot of mates that come on this thing, right? And so like we forget that it's recording, and we just talk shop. Like, we just talk shit. Remember he was talking about him and his ex-girlfriend at like the back end of the podcast, and we were deep. And at the end of it, I was like, bro, you want me to cut that out? He's like, nah, it'd be funny. And I clipped it up for him, and I sent it to him. I was like, are you sure you don't want me? He's just like, yeah, it's probably a respectful thing to do.
Good idea.
Yeah, I was just like, you sure? He's just like, it'd be funny. I'm like, positive? Are you sure? But yeah, anyway, like, but that's what I mean. Like, you guys are so influential in the space. Like, I think it's so important and so cool, like, talking through this type of stuff. Yeah. Leading into, can you talk about Paris? Leading into there, because you said Tokyo was obviously the first time it came about. First time you felt like you could have had a podium. Coming out of Tokyo, 4 years leading into Paris, where's your mind go? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, it was actually 3 year turnaround because COVID.
Sorry, 3 years.
Yeah, so it was like 2021. So we had only had 3 years. And that's, it's so hard because like, I was such a rookie. So I started international competitions late because of injuries. So 2019 was my rookie year. And I had only done 4 competitions that year. Then the Olympics. Like my 5th ever event was the Olympics, which was so crazy. So I was like,
that's so wild to think.
So bloody crazy. Like, I can't believe that. And so I was still learning the art of like how to ride a competition, how, you know, what do I eat? Like, how do I warm up? Like, what is my mindset going into this? Because it was just so new for me, and the sport just in general. And so I went to Tokyo with a fucked knee. So crazy. So 5th ACL rupture, 2 weeks before Tokyo.
Can we just talk about how many have you done total now?
6. On the same knee.
What?
On the same knee. Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
We can circle back to this.
Everyone says, you know, quit. But we can come to it.
We can circle back. Yeah.
So yeah, ruptured my ACL 2 weeks before Tokyo. So had gone over there with an injury, was told not to go, and I was like, I may never get to another Olympics again because of this now. So coming out of Tokyo, it was 2 weeks quarantine with COVID, came out, went for knee surgery straight away. And then, because it was so stuffed up inside, we had to like clear it out and like pack the holes in the bones to like restart from the start pretty much.
See the scars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just cleaned it out, had to wait 3 months for that to heal. And then December of 2021, go in and actually fix the ruptured ACL. And then in the same month, I got shoulder surgery on my left side. So with ACLs, like you're looking at a minimum of 12 months rehab. So I was like, okay, well, I know my shoulder's stuffed. Like I may as well just get this done at the same time because I'm out for 12 months. So we did that. So the whole first year of the 3-year turnaround, I was completely in rehab, couldn't be on the bike at all. Got the okay to ride again. First event was going to be World Champs. This was 2022. And this now was like the start of the Olympic period. Like Australia had to qualify this spot at this World Championships to be able to have a spot.
Of course, you don't get automatic entry.
No. So as the country, to even get riders to go, as the country, we had to qualify, and that was the event to do it.
And I'm assuming, because I'm relating it back to the swimmers, but the person who qualifies the spot doesn't necessarily qualify to go to the Olympics.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So gearing up for that, got the okay, woohoo, I'm back on the bike. Within the week of being back on the bike, my shoulder rips out again.
What?
Yeah, the one that I just got fixed, we had done the rehab, and like it was like far out. Okay, well you're not going to this event. We have to send a development girl to go, or else we just won't even get a chance to go to the next Olympics.
I was going to ask, is there anybody else?
No.
Hard.
So this little, she must have been 15-year-old girl, never ridden international events. We're sending her off because you can't go. So stayed back in Oz, got the shoulder fixed again. This time like more reinforced, like super invasive, like you got the big scar and stuff now.
Yeah.
Well, before it was like keyhole surgery.
Yeah.
Which I guess maybe like a blessing was like it just gave my knee more time to get stronger, like being out with another shoulder injury. So now it's like the end of the year, out with another injury, going into 2023, and my first event back then was now May, and this was like really heavy into like qualifying now.
Yeah.
So for the 3-year turnaround, for more than half of that, I was out in rehab with. I had 4 surgeries between Tokyo and Paris, which is crazy.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was such a different one, but like my learnings from Tokyo was like I do want this. I know that I can do this. This freaking sucks, but I guess lucky for me, I've been through this before. Like I know what the rehab looks like. I know what pain is. I know I've pushed through it 1,000 times before. Maybe like that really helped me through that period because it's hard. Like 4 surgeries, like what the hell? That
was, for me, like this podcast, the biggest thing is around like overcoming injuries, right? Like the resilience piece of like having 6 ACLs, which we'll talk about the 6th in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But going through 4 surgeries in the lead up, like that's not normal. Like how do you overcome that? Especially like from the view of my friend, it's like when you're on a bike, you're relying heavily on your shoulders and knees. Like it's not like you can get around that at all.
No.
How do you go like coming back onto that? Like, is it scary? Is it nervous? How do you build the confidence back up?
Yeah, definitely scary. Like I would have to be one of the most resilient BMX freestyle riders there is out there, especially in the women. Like I've had the most injuries, which is like unfair, but everything happens for a reason, I say. But once you've done the rehab and you're getting back on the bike, it's like slow steps to like learn how to trust that body part again and trust that you've done the hard work and trust in the data that you've done. Okay, like comparison from your right shoulder, like it's the same strength, like just trusting in everyone, like sports, physio and all that, S&C coach, like, and taking it slow. Like we have the luxury now, growing up we didn't, like of foam pits and resis and stuff. Like Gladstone, it was like concrete or dirt, pick one, and so it is scary. It takes a bit of time to like grow that confidence back, but I don't know, like my mind, I guess like I'm from such a young age, it was like I'm gonna do this as a living, like, and I just have a strong will to like do something, like to do it. Like I hate to be the person that gives up because I don't know, I'm a person, I go home and I know when I've given up rather than like when I've given something my all and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I just can't live with that guilt or the what ifs.
Yeah.
I'd rather just to do it, to try.
And you take that into training?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it takes a bit of time and trust to get back into it, but I don't know. I also have this like ability to like forget, and maybe it's in some ways not healthy.
That's so awesome.
Like some ways I guess it's not healthy, but like I can forget like pain, or I guess I can just put it in a different spot of my mind to not think of it when I'm doing BMX or doing the trick. Like, you know, if you talk to anyone, especially in like footy, like if you second ACL and your career's over, probably.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, I'm just like, oh, like I don't know. If someone asked me about like my tattoo here, did it hurt? I'm like, honestly, I can't remember.
Okay, let's get another
one. I just don't know.
Yeah. You said there was one of your posts that you put up recently, and I pulled it out because I thought it was awesome. You said, about a month out from the Olympics, my team sat me down and asked me, win, lose or draw, what do you want to be known as? And I answered with, I want to be known as a fighter.
Yeah.
Run me through that. That's so awesome.
Far out. I like forgot that I even wrote that. Like, for some reason, it gives me tears. Yeah, I just wanted to be remembered as like a fighter. Like I've had to fight so hard to make it this far in BMX and in life. Like moving here by myself, I freaking drew all of my super when you were allowed to do it in COVID, just to move here. Like I sacrificed everything that I had to get here and to push through all the injuries and the people that said that I couldn't. And then, to make it to the Olympics was like, for a second time against all the odds, like I just wanted to be known as a fighter regardless of the result. Like that's all I wanted.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a good answer. I remember seeing that and I'm thinking like, I don't hear many people like go into be like, nah, like I want to be a fighter. I don't care, like regardless of the result, like I've been through the shit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be a fighter, man.
Yeah, like you can be the best person in the world. I guess I'm just super passionate about like giving back too. Like you can be the best rider in the world, but a terrible role model.
Yeah. Or
a terrible inspiration. Like, you know, like whether I'm the best in the world or not, like I just want to show that I've tried my hardest and this is what you can get or what can happen when you just put all your effort into it and believe in yourself. Like, you know, no one else can believe in you, but as long as you do, like you can make this happen.
I want to talk about Paris.
Yeah.
Let's dive into it because here I am thinking, I was just like, I see all like I saw the final or like your heat, your runs, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is sick. Like this is awesome. I obviously didn't know the backstory.
No.
Give me a rundown of what happened.
Far out. You know, it was a long time coming to get to like where I was. Not even physically, but like mentally.
Yeah.
And being in Paris was like, I felt like I was already a winner, which is crazy. Like, I remember I qualified in the last automatic position to go to the games. And from that day, and it was in Budapest, our last qualifying series. And I was like so excited and so happy that I remember thinking like I've already won, like I've done it, like I'm going to my second Olympics now. And got into the village and felt really good. You know, we went to Belgium beforehand for training camp and it was like the calm before the storm. Like it was a close intimate group. It was me, Logan, our other rider, our coach and physio. And you know, it was like the calm before the storm. So that really set the tone. And then got into the village, amazing, great. I actually got COVID. So
of course.
That was a bit tough because then I was now isolated from the team. But then thank God our first 2 practice days got rained out. So when I was feeling shit, the gods were like, cool, we'll just rain it out for you. So no one has an advantage.
Yeah.
And then the day of finals, so qualifying, I was like super nervous. That's like it is the hardest day for everyone in BMX freestyle because in qualifying, both of your runs count and it's the average score.
Right.
So you have to do enough to make it to the final, but if you do too much and you fall, you won't make it to the final.
So if you fall, you're pretty much guaranteed.
Pretty much, even if you put a foot down, you're pretty much just not going to get through.
Really?
Unless other people fall and you did better within your 30 seconds before you fell or something.
But what if you just have the most insane run ever and you just put a foot down?
Sometimes that's happened. Like sometimes like someone's fell and they're like, man, like I need to come out and do my absolute best finals run just to scrape through.
Yeah.
So that has happened before, but because at the Olympics, we only had 12 riders, and that's usually a finals for us. So there was really no room for error. And I remember going out there, knowing I felt so sick the day before in practice from the medication from COVID. And I was just like, super nervous. For me, like my nervous system just shuts down without me even wanting it to. My fight or flight's like flight. Even when my mind's fighting, my body's like flight, catch up.
Really?
I'll get really bad dry mouth, can't swallow, can't eat anything because I'm super nervous. I'll shake because I'm super nervous. There's been times where I've gone so lightheaded that I can't see, and I've had to really bring myself back. So my nervous system, that day I was so nervous and I was like, oh my God, please don't give up on me now. Oh my God. And so I went out for my first run and I did slip a foot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I've come all this way to not even make so usually when 12 was a final, they were going from 12 to 9. They were going to cut 3 people out. And so we had to just play strategically and look at the scores and kind of compare what the other girls were doing to go, okay, Nat, if you just do this trick and then clean up your run, your score should put you here. That will put you in the last position to barely scrape through. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So we were really trying to game plan, go out for my second run, do what I had to do, really clean it up, and qualified in 7th when 8 of us, was there 8 maybe? I think it was going from 12 to 8, something like that. Or maybe I was 8th, qualified in 8th and there was 9 people. So I was super stoked to make it through, barely. My confidence was kind of oh, do I like being in 8th position? Because the advantage is to qualify higher so that you get to go last and then you get to watch everyone and go, they did this, this, and this, that's their score. Okay, now I can up them without even having to go yet.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage. So I was my confidence was a bit low because I was okay, I don't have that advantage, but I'm glad I made it through. I woke up the next day for finals and I don't know, I just felt so ready. Everything inside me was just you are just gonna do so well today. And whether that was training my mind in such a long lead up, I'm going to do well, I'm going to get this, and manifestation, you said earlier. I did manifest 3rd spot. I always think maybe if I had a manifest gold, maybe I could have got that. But I just manifest just a podium, just a podium, and bronze kind of was always on the top of my mind. Silver was kind of there, but bronze I was I'm just going to get it. I woke up and I just felt so ready and so excited to show the world what I can do. It wasn't, I guess, based on the competition. I was genuinely excited to showcase the world what I can do. And I did a little video about an hour and a half before going out for finals. Just a little video diary I did to myself.
Yeah.
And it was win, lose or draw, I am going to be so happy with what I did today. You're going to do so well. I feel so ready. But I think I'm going to get a medal and I'm going to write history today for Australia. I said that to myself. And just gives me goosebumps now, I said that and I felt it. I truly believed it. Mum and my auntie are in the crowd, something super special, doing it with all my friends. And went out, the first girl, the French girl, so the crowd was crazy. She would qualify in 9th, so she was the first to go. The crowd's nuts. It's vibrating, like the ground. And she dropped in and her first trick, she fell off. So then I kind of got nervous because it was when I thought I had about 1.5 minutes. So you get a minute of their run and then 30 seconds or a bit longer with the judges scoring. So when I thought I had at least a couple of minutes, I now had to go. And I was oh my God, am I ready? Oh, she just fell. I was planning on this. So I kind of got nervous. And then I just went up there and I looked for my mum in the crowd and I just gave her a head nod because like I didn't want to lose my focus, but I just wanted her to know that like I'm ready. And I dropped in, and from my first trick, like I just felt like I was on.
Yeah.
Like I was so locked in, I was so ready, and landed my first run, and it like put the pressure on everyone else because I got a high score. I got an 89 on the first run. And so now everyone else before me, after me, is like feeling the pressure, like, oh my God, like I actually have to perform because that's such a high pressure like score now. So everything happens for a reason, that I was meant to qualify low to put that pressure on everyone, because everyone after that fell in their first run. I think there was like 2 people that didn't fall. So everyone fell in their first runs. I didn't watch their scores the whole first way around. Like I don't even know who fell. Like that's just like, I just know now after. Because I didn't want to be distracted or be influenced in any way of what they were doing. So I went out for my second run not knowing that I was still in a medal position.
Oh, really?
I had no idea.
Why'd you do that?
Because I just didn't want to like get excited too early. So in Budapest, in our last qualifying series, I was sitting in third and I'm getting ready for my second run. And I was excited. I got too excited too early. I'm like, I'm going to get a medal today. You know, kind of lost my focus, and then I fell.
Wow.
So I was like, I'm not going to let that happen to me today.
And your coaches are on board. You tell me, hey, don't tell me the scores.
Yeah,
like,
it was like, no one tell her, just tell her when she needs to start getting ready for the next run. Tell her when she needs to start warming up, get her to drink her water, and then let her just go out. So I went out not even knowing that I was still in medal position. And I go out and I started in a different spot for my second run. So I'm looking in the crowd trying to find my mum, and I couldn't find her. And then one of my competitors' aunties was right there. And unfortunately, Nikita didn't make it to the final, but we're super close. And her brother actually just like, he had a sign saying, "Go Nikita," on the qualifying day. And then he like repainted it saying, "Go Natalya." It was so cute. Anyway, and I couldn't find my mum, so I saw her auntie and I looked at her and I was like, I fucking got this. And I dropped in, and I said that because I was doing a front flip that I had never done before. Had never done it, and Hannah crashed it in her first run. So I dropped in, did the best front flip that I've ever done in my life, and finished my run. And crazy enough, that wasn't even the run that got me the score. Like my first one was the one that got me a medal. Wow. Yeah.
And then so run me through, because obviously like everyone has to go through their runs before they get it. So tell me, like run me through that moment where, was there a moment where it's like, that's when you knew that you got third place because someone didn't get the score, or like what was that like?
Yeah, so then now that I had done, it was nice to like have a bit of a show because there was still 7 people to go after me. But it was definitely nerve-wracking. Like it was just like one by one by one, like looking at the score, watching their runs, looking at the score, like waiting for the judges, because you know sometimes they can take up to like 5 minutes to really like deliberate, like was that better than this girl, you know? And just like I think a few girls fell again, so it was like cool, tick, like another one gone, like and then it came down to the very last rider. So I had a long wait. Hannah Roberts, she at the time was 4-time world champion, silver medalist from the Olympics.
So she's pretty good.
She's the best. She's won every event there is to win in the world.
Wow. Do you guys know each other?
Best friends.
Shut up.
Bestest friends.
No way.
So as soon as I entered the scene, her and I clicked straight away. Like we are the bestest friends. She spent 6 weeks here with me, and I spent 6 weeks with her, and every event it's just like her and I, we do stuff together. So that was like one of the toughest positions to be in.
So you're sitting in third place. You've got the best rider who is just won everything. Yeah. So you want her to do well, but you also want to get the podium, right?
Yeah. So it's so tough because like I never want to wish that someone falls or say anything, because I don't want karma to come back around ever. Like, you know, so the build up with it was like just crazy. My best friend's about to go. We all know how good she is. But I was sitting there, and the judges, I think, were taking a long time again. And I was sitting there and I was like, I don't know, like, I'm just going to film this because I think this is mine. Like, I know how good she is, but I was like, that same feeling I had before the event, it was just like, just film it. And if it's not what you want, you get the devastation and the true emotions of what it is to be like as an athlete, and, you know, the highs and lows, you know, you get to share that story too. But I really think this could be in your favor. And the hype of the commentators, you know, Hannah Roberts drops in and on her first trick fell. And it took me a second because it wasn't a hard, like she just slipped her feet. She probably could have got up and kept on going and not got first, but she's good enough to maybe get a third.
Yeah.
You know, and she just called it. And so there was a split second, I saw it and I was like, oh, it almost felt quiet. And then it was like, fuck yes. And like, I just like dropped to the ground. I'm crying. Mum and my auntie are screaming and shaking like a Dean Boxall, shaking the railings. You know, the team's going crazy. And, you know, she's such a good sport. She came up and...
I was going to say, would you go like, what do you say to each other?
Yeah, she came up and gave me a hug and said, congratulations. You know, I'm so happy. If it was to go to anyone, it went to you. Yes. And so I was heartbroken for her, but stoked for me, and also for her too. Like her teammates in individual sport, but the other USA rider got second. Yeah. So there's the heartbreak for USA of we've got a medal, but also we had someone that just crashed. How do we play that? But she took it really well toward me, which was nice, and let me celebrate my win. And unreal moment. Tell me
because it was obviously incredible. Like you got your family there.
Yeah.
What was even stepping back out of it now, like months later, reflecting on that, what do you feel? Like what do you think about?
I have to really step out of it. You know what? I haven't really taken the time to like reflect heaps on it. There was still so much to do at the end of that year, but yeah, like in the moment, like I dropped to the ground, like it was almost not real. Like I can't believe this actually happened. Like the plan went to plan. This is what you've been dreaming of for your whole life. But it was also just such a relief. Yeah. Like everything that I've been through, all the money and the time that my family has put in for me to be able to do this and to come this far and watch me. And also like I had to do a GoFundMe to get there. Really? I didn't really have the funds to get there. So just knowing that like everyone who had donated to me, it like paid off. Yeah. Like I was able to return something to them. And it was just obviously exciting, but I remember it being such a relief. Wow. Yeah.
Because it's like obviously like what you want to go over there and everything like that. But when people are helping you financially to get there, and I'm sure it adds like a little bit of extra pressure, right? Yeah. Like not that it should, but naturally it just does.
Yeah, for sure.
You talked about your 5 ACLs.
Yeah.
When was the 6th one?
6th one was 2 days before Paris. It was complete deja vu.
This is like, because you go, like we've obviously just had an incredible conversation about all the success, like doing a front flip for the first time in a comp. Yeah. And I was just like, fuck, I swear she's doing another ACL in there. And it was 2 days before going.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. Again, like it just must have been a blessing that with me, I don't know, like, because I'd had 5 already before, like does the pain not hurt as much for me anymore? Or am I just so immune to it happening? Like, because I'd had to have so many, like I've had 2 hamstring grafts, and then I had, at the time, it was like the thing to do was like the artificial ligament. Yeah. They said, you know, so I had 2 of those, ruptured the first one. They're like, oh, it's pretty much like a rope. Oh, we'll put a thicker rope in there. There's no way they'll rupture it. So the one I did before Tokyo was an artificial ligament. So the pain was minimal because it wasn't a real blood flow ligament, which still hurt. I remember that one actually hurting more, to be honest. But then this one, we went with a donor graft from someone else. It was like someone else's Achilles or something. Yeah. So if they said to me, like the team and stuff, like if you were ever to do it again, you're going to know about it because it's a real ligament. Like there's blood flow and everything in it. Like you're going to know about it. And yeah, I just started like doing the final touches of prep before going away and doing double whips. Like I had done them before, feeling confident. This is my plan. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to do it there. And I had done a couple and then I was like, oh, I'll just do a backflip and then do one, like kind of a sequence. And I don't know, maybe it was speed. I'm not sure what happened, but then like slipped my foot, caught the resi, and classic just like turned, fell on it. And I fell instantly. I was like, I just like slid down, didn't say anything. And I was like, my knee. And then like no one was like kind of like no one was close to me. I'm like, I've just fucking hurt my knee. I sat on the ground and then my coach was like, come on, get back up. Like, let's do it again. Like, just land it. And I got up, rode up the top and I was like, just get me on the fucking plane. And I grabbed my water bottles, went down and I was like, to the physio, I was like, you need to check my knee. And he's like, why? What happened? What happened? I'm like, I'm telling you right now, I just hurt my fucking knee. Like, you need to test it. You know, you pull the leg and, you know, see if it's loose. They're like, no, everything feels pretty tight. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't reckon it is. And then we like the next day kind of like trying to manage the swelling. Like, what does the swelling look like? And like,
still unsure, like.
Unsure. Just knew that it hurt, but I was able to walk and stuff like that. And they're like, okay, we'll just watch it for swelling, go home and ice it, take anti-inflammatories, come back the next day because of like the history on it. Like I always have a bit of swelling in my knee and sometimes it does get sore, like it's arthritic now. And it was like, oh, there's a bit of swelling there, but maybe like only a tiny bit more than usual. And I was like, cool, let's just forget about it. Like the rule for now, like we're flying out tomorrow for our camp in the Olympics. No one bring it up. No one ask me how my knee is. No one talk to me unless I say to you about something about it. And even with the flight and stuff over there, like it just didn't swell a crazy amount. And I think, like, and this is what I was saying earlier, like I think it was sore, but I was able to go, it's fine.
Put it in a different box somewhere else.
It was like I just put it somewhere else. And like even like at the Olympics and like in the training camp, like I remember warming up like and like doing body weight squats and stuff, going, fuck, like my knee hurts, but like, you know, that's just my knee. Like that's just it for me. This is my normal. And I was just able to put it to the side. And then, you know, got through that whole time, got a bronze medal, like did all the tricks that like I probably shouldn't have been able to do. Like I shouldn't have been able to even ride my bike. Like if anyone off the street now or someone on the footy field ruptures an ACL, they can't walk.
You can't walk. Yeah, I know.
Like you cannot walk. Like I just don't, like honestly, I just don't know how everything was just aligned for me, even though in the worst case scenario. And
then so did you scan it when you got back?
Yeah, so we got back and I had a bit of time off because things were busy.
Did a bunch of press as well.
Yeah, like it was super busy. And then started to gear back up again because we still have World Championships in December. So that's why I haven't had time to reflect because I was still so busy afterwards. And gearing up for that, and I was like, fuck, my knee is so sore, like in the gym, like riding my bike, and everyone's like, oh, it's because you've just had a bit of time off. And I was like, no, like it is so sore, like something's different. Like I need to get an injection or something. Like I need a PRP shot or cortisone, like something. So I went in actually for a PRP shot. And the doctor was like, oh, there's a bit of swelling. Like, I'll just drain the swelling out first before putting the shot in. And when he drained the swelling, it was just blood. It was all blood. And he was like, well, that's not a good sign. Like, that shows like there's injury in there. And I'm like, okay. He's like, we'll go get a scan just to be safe. And I just knew. Like, I knew in that moment when I did it. And then, like, I guess I was just trying to mask it. And, yeah, got the scans back. And it was like, yeah, not good news. And I was like, yeah, I probably know what it is. He's like, yeah, you've done your ACL. So the 6-1, done my ACL.
But you know what's insane to me? Like you going over, compartmentalizing it, getting a third place at the Olympics. Coming back 6 ACL. You went through that whole Olympic cycle. With a torn ACL. Sorry, an Olympic event. That blows my mind. And I'm sure that will blow a lot of people's minds.
And it's just crazy how powerful your mind is, right? Like because then as soon as I knew, like I got home and like I had hurt my ankle too, like I did the ligaments in my ankle and the left side. Then I got the results back for my knee, and then I went to the World Champs, and like just my mind was just like, my body, like I can't do this. And like, maybe it was a bit of like post-Olympic stuff, you know, kind of navigating through that a bit, trying to get back into such a competitive mindset after such a high.
Yeah.
Like I think there was just such a big build-up of all of that, and I went to that one and I really just had to trust muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in practice and stuff going, I don't even like know what I'm doing. My body hurts. Like I'm just trusting in muscle memory.
Yeah.
And I didn't do terribly. I came 9th, but like obviously able to do better. So yeah, it's just crazy that my mind at the Olympics was like, everything's off to the side and you're competing at your best and your strongest.
Yeah.
To like only a couple months later going, no, you can't do anything.
The mind is so wild, especially when it comes to pain.
Yeah.
I think about this, I reflect on my footy career, and there's definitely times where I've had an injury which I've dramatized and thought was worse, and physically felt more painful when I was in like a more stressed state outside of footy, whether like I might not have wanted to be there at that time or other shit was going on. You roll your ankle and you're like, I've done everything, right? And then there's other times where you're like, everything's going good, you tear your AC off, and then you're like, I'm done, put me back on, I'm ready to go. You go back on, you finish the game, right?
Yeah, I know.
And I think about it all the time. I was just like, how wild is it, like the way we perceive pain when like other outside influences are playing a role in it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. For sure. Yeah, it's so crazy how your mind does do that.
I do have a question from somebody who I will play for us. Just give me 1 second.
Hey cutie, you're without a doubt one of the biggest dreamers I know. Last year, you achieved one of your greatest dreams by getting a medal at the Olympics. So my question to you is, what is your new biggest dream for the future? I love you.
When she said, hey cutie, I was like, it's definitely not for me. I was like, let's definitely do that. Big dreams, next big dream. You're obviously a big dreamer.
Yeah, I'm a massive dreamer. I dream about everything, like, and that's probably what got me to the Olympics and a medal, honestly. But the next big dream, I think, I don't know, I just really want to live out these next few years as best I can in BMX, because like I'm 27 now, and you know, my days are probably coming close to an end in the sport. LA is obviously the end goal for me. I think if I make it to LA, when I make it to LA, that will be me done competitively. So I really just want to get as much done as I can in the years leading up to that, and then finish on a high there.
Love that.
And whatever that looks like, you know, being invited to a Red Bull event in a couple of weeks. Like, I don't even ride for Red Bull. Like, I've been invited, I have that opportunity, you know, hopefully in these years I gained some sponsorship and just, you know, I got invited back to X Games this year. Like, I'm just hoping to do as best I can and as much as I can in these few years. You know, that's the dream.
That's so sick. What's the Red Bull event?
The Red Bull featured one with the double-decker bus.
That's the double-decker bus. Wow.
Yeah.
If you didn't focus down the Olympic space, what would be the other discipline that you'd want to go down?
There's like the other.
There's so many types, right?
Yeah, you know, there's different types of BMX. There's like BMX Park, which is obviously us, but there's like Olympic side, non-Olympic side. There's BMX Street, and then like there's a side where like people have the sponsorship, like sponsors and stuff, where they make money, but like they just make money by doing great video parts.
Yeah.
And I love that idea, and I'd love to make a video part, but when you're so focused on the Olympics and you're in that moment, you just don't even have time to do that, or want to risk doing something just for a video, and then that takes you out.
Hayley Wilson said the exact same thing when she was training for the Olympics, and she's like, was doing video features as well. She's like, people can do it. She's like, I can't. It's too wild.
No, I couldn't live with myself missing an Olympic spot because I came off doing a video part. Like I just couldn't. I love the idea. I want to do it. I think that's something else that I want to try and do within these couple of years before it starts ramping up again.
Gotcha.
Because it's awesome. And then it's like there for you to watch forever. And you get to show your kids, or, you know, inspire other people, because it'll be on YouTube and stuff forever. Like, I remember I grew up on YouTube videos
Yeah.
and watching everyone and all the famous riders, and then you meet them and you're like, oh my God, like I watched your video 1,000 times 10 years ago.
Do you know Natalya Diehm?
No.
He's like he's over in Boston in America. I think he does is it like some downhill BMX, but kind of like mountain BMX?
Yeah, like downhill.
Downhill. Yeah, like downhill. Would you ever do that?
That stuff's scary.
That looks wild.
It's unreal. Like that stuff's scary.
Yeah, we did a podcast with him over at the Whoop HQ last year, and he was showing me some of his footage. He fell off a cliff at Rampage, at Red Bull Rampage.
Yeah, I was gonna say Red Bull Rampage, like that stuff's insane.
Insane.
Like, you talk about fear and how you overcome and stuff. I look at that and going, how could you ever overcome the fear of that? Like that's unreal.
So no appetite for downhill?
No. Although like I mentioned Caroline earlier, like she went from BMX race to BMX freestyle. She went to mountain biking. I think she's done a bit of downhill, like she's done it all.
Yeah.
I guess it's just putting in the time and obviously confidence grows over that. But yeah, I don't know.
I think about that all the time, especially the things that we think are like so wild, like so out there.
Yeah.
Like we had a pretty insane swell here recently with the cyclone.
Yeah.
And I enjoy surfing. Like I like surfing. I've done a few surf trips. I'm not a big wave surfer at all, but then there's this like little part of me that was like, what if you could be a big wave surfer?
I know.
Like what if you just like travel to like Shipsterns like or West Oz and just like pump like insane waves.
Yeah.
And like for a washed up footy player, I'd be like, that's so left field, you know what I mean?
Know.
That'd be so sick.
I'm such a big dreamer. I always do that. If I try one thing for one time, like imagine if I was the best. Like right now I'm like watching Australian Idol. And like I cannot sing. I can't sing, but like I watch it and I'm like, imagine if I got singing lessons and I did it.
Right?
So left field, Olympic BMX rider to like singing sensation.
Yeah, well, it's so, but is it that far out of the park? I haven't heard you sing, maybe.
But like, I don't know. And I even said that to Ree, my partner. I was like, we were sitting down watching it and like I sing all the time.
Yeah.
Like I do just love to sing, but I'm not good.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I was like, and she just laughed at me and I was like, I don't know if I can go the rest of my life knowing that I never tried. I was like, I don't know if I can do it knowing I never tried.
I love that. We got to finish on that. I think that's going to be the best. Natalya, thank you so much for coming on. I think this has been such a fun conversation. Like ever since you came in here, it was like, I was like, this is going to be a sick chat. So thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me. I feel like I could talk forever. Like there's just so much we could talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's not enough battery on the cameras, unfortunately.
No,
I keep looking over. I was just like, I wonder if these will pop off anytime soon. Thanks so much. Let's wrap it up.
No, cool.